You know what I started doing is, so I was cleaning my apartment this week, and there's this jar that, it's about the size of maybe a cantaloupe. It's like a round kind of jar with a flat bottom. But I was putting hella like old ass barrettes and like hair ribbons, things I like don't use, in this jar, and then I had it somewhere for like 2 years. Yesterday I emptied it out and I wiped it down with some Lysol wipes because, girl, everything.
There's shit
everything
worse
is
than
covered in that.
COVID-19 in there.
Yeah. Who knows? I threw out some, barrettes and stuff. Anyway, and I'm making it into one of those cheesy like gratitude jars. Where you like put a little note in with like what you're grateful for whenever it happens, and then like at the end of the year you open it all up and you read it. Have you ever done anything like that?
Not for myself, because I'm shit at doing shit for myself. But I did do this jar for my friend, who I was like, we're in different locations, and I hadn't seen her in a while. So I like wrote down every time that I thought about her and like wanting to tell her something. So I would like write it down and I would put it in this jar, and then I gave it to her for her birthday or something. I think it was her birthday.
And so she was unwrapping things and it was like, my fridge is too full. Like, you're just random things you're complaining about.
Like, fuck people today,
Yeah. It's like,
random
damn,
shit.
the negativity.
It was actually very thoughtful.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I like that
sounds
idea.
Really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good because you
forget. Yeah, they say that like gratitude is super important, right? Like psychologically.
Yeah.
People have better times if they take a bit out of their day to like think about what they're happy for and stuff. I'm like, let's give it a go. All right.
Do you feel like you lack gratefulness in general?
I think I lack perspective, and that like the darks get dark, and I don't have the lights easily on hand. So maybe if I like think of something every day, it's more, I don't know, is that practicing? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, they tell you to like pretend to be okay, and then eventually you'll be okay, or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
I remember in psych class, one of the things that our teacher had us do was like fake laugh now.
Yeah.
And you'll probably start laughing for real, and you'll probably feel better.
Fake it till you make it.
What kind of maniac would I be if I was just like forcing myself to laugh by myself?
Yeah.
Until it worked.
Yeah, it probably turns into a real laugh because other people's fake laughs are ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I do have a friend who, she's like really positive to the point where it annoys me sometimes. But she every day, like for the maybe half a year, has started to, before she does anything in the morning, she'll like lay in bed and I don't know, it's like a box, like a mental box or something, and she'll like talk about things that she's grateful for in her head. Like just saying, I'm grateful for the water that I have next to my bed because some people don't have water. I'm grateful that, my mechanic worked on my car yesterday and it works. Or I'm grateful that there are people that are kind. Like, you can get however philosophically you want with it. And she says it really helps her for the entire day.
Oh my God.
And sets her in this like positive mindset.
My brain doesn't even work for like about 2.5 hours after I wake up. I'm like,
so like if you laid in bed and tried that, what would those thoughts be?
I would never remember to try that in that state.
Yeah.
I feel like, you've seen Memento?
I have not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know, I need to.
That's crazy. Anyway, yeah, this guy uses like tattoos to remember things.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I need.
Well, you could like write something on your ceiling or like tack something up that's like do your stupid square, bitch.
Yeah.
Although
Do my square, bitch.
Your eyes are crusty too in the mornings. They'd be like, what does it say again?
Yeah, I can't read. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should put it on my bathroom mirror because lately, and I must be just getting old, when I pee, I gotta pee. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, I gotta go.
Oh my goodness.
You know, I'm a mature woman now. I think that's what that means. For sure.
Have you ever, like, thought about peeing in your dream and you accidentally pee a little in your
like, as an
bed?
adult? No.
No? That's a
Sometimes,
thing.
I know. I've had dreams where I am peeing and I wake up thinking, like, oh, crap. But no.
Wait, you are peeing in your dream?
I'm peeing in my dream. Like, I need to keep peeing because this whatever. Yeah, but I'm not actually peeing in real life. So
that's good.
Hashtag
I hope you don't
blessed.
get to that point.
I know. Yeah, that'd be bad. Oh.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, I think, so I told you about the dream that I had where I had to carry my gecko in my mouth.
Yeah.
And it felt so real. And I think it was because I was basically like mewing. Do you know what that is?
Is this a Pokemon reference or do you mean like the sound?
No, it's like it's neither actually. There is another option.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's called mewing. It's this basically like, you can look at this on YouTube later. It's like definitely. A position, like people post clickbaity kind of videos like plastic surgery without going under the knife, and it's basically just like learning to keep your face in a different, like your tongue in a different position in your mouth. Mm-hmm. That makes it so that your teeth aren't clenched and your face just looks usually more attractive or something like that.
Yeah, because it pulls your cheeks up slightly. That's some bullshit though.
Anyway, I think that's why the sensation felt like there was a little gecko in my mouth, because it was my tongue just like right up there.
Oh.
Anyway.
It'd be better if it was a Pokemon reference and you were like verbalizing Mewtwo.
Mewing? What would it mean to mew?
Just being amazing and regal.
Yeah, just being like elusive and desirable and unique and perfect in every way.
Yeah, which speaking of, last weekend I was with my nephew. Mm-hmm. And I was wearing this obviously faux pearl headband. Mm-hmm. And I kept taking it off because, you know, you wear headbands for too long and they start kind of giving you a headache. Yep. At least they do for me. No, and so definitely. I kept like I was laying on the couch and I kept like putting it on my chest instead of having it in my head. And my nephew, who's like 2.5, he kept coming up and handing it to me. And he'd go, Queen, Queen. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I would like put it on. And then, you know, however many seconds or minutes later, I'd take it off again because it was hurting. And he would notice every time I took it off, he'd come back, hand it to me. He's like, Queen Gabby. And I'm like, thank you so much. It was like the best validation I had for like 10 full minutes of my life.
That's really good.
So I think I was mewing that day for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's like that meme. There's that meme of Mario like handing a crown, and it says like, "You dropped this, king," or whatever. It's like a reaction image. That's like basically what your nephew was doing.
I know.
You dropped this, queen.
He's like, we got to make sure your tiara is on right. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's true. You really can't unwind at the end of the day and put your tiara down. You have to be a queen at all times.
That's true. Can't catch you slipping.
I have a Nintendo 64 and no one will play it with me.
Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
I like don't play video games anymore. I don't have the patience. I don't know. Something has changed within me. Do you know that song?
No, but I mean, obviously you are maturing. I don't play video games that didn't come out when I was a kid. Yeah. But I do take it out for the nostalgia. Mm-hmm. My mom is cleaning out the garage because of this quarantine. And she found a box of like my high school artifacts. and she wants me
Ooh.
to throw it away. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not throwing it away. It's nostalgia. And she, for some reason, equates that negatively because, you know, she's an immigrant and doesn't exactly know what it means. And she's like, you act like you had a terrible childhood. You don't need nostalgia. And I'm like, that's not what it means. It just means... And she's like, no, throw it away. And that was the end of that box.
Wow. Oh, yeah. My parents keep a lot of things, and I definitely keep a lot of things. It's hard. I can't get rid of a lot of stuff.
I know. I thought at one time that I would keep, like, all my notebooks from, like, every grade. Because I have such vital information in there. And what if I want to, like, refer back to this doodle? But I was thinking about it, and I'm like, do I need my AP English notes from when I was 17? Way. Probably not.
Yeah, the notes that I've definitely kept are, like, my history and, like, language classes notes.
Why? That's shit that doesn't change and isn't relative to your experience.
But I could always go back.
You could read a history book.
See, I think history and language are the things that, for me, it hurts the most that I've forgotten them. That, like, I took so many years of history, and I got 5s on all my AP exams, and I cannot tell you, like, okay, I got a 4 on AP Physics.
You got a 5 on your English exams, too?
Oh, I never took AP English.
Dang. What did you take?
I know. I took, like, AP Euro, I took A-Push, took AP US Gov, Comparative Gov, Physics, Psychology, Japanese.
What the fuck? Rich ass high school did you go to? You know what? I had Spanish, and that's it. English. There was one
school.
Fucking history, bitch. I didn't get a 5 on that one. You know why? Because I hate history, and I didn't listen to the teacher for one day, and I just took it so that I didn't have to take the final.
Oh my god, I was super in love with my history teacher.
I've always hated
both
history. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it a Colin Firth or a Kate Winslet?
Was it a Colin Firth or a Kate? They were both kind of Kates, maybe.
Dang, how did you pay attention?
It was tough. And then my sophomore year, was it junior year? I cannot remember when I took AP Euro.
AP Euro sounds like the most pretentious thing ever. I can't believe you had AP Euro.
Was it the only AP you could take as a freshman, or was it the only AP you could take
as a
sophomore?
God.
Yeah, it was something like that. Anyway, I took it. I was in love with my teacher, and then the next year, he was like, "You did great in my class. Like, would you want to be a TA?" And I was like, "Fuck," because I had already agreed to be a TA for my Japanese teacher, so I couldn't.
And your Japanese teacher wasn't a Kate Winslet?
No, but she was very important.
That does suck. You could have had, like, a romance. Think about that.
I do. Well, no. He was married, and I supported his marriage.
You know what? I'm having deja vu. You've definitely told me some involved stories of this high school teacher.
Well, there was 2, so it might be looking more involved because you're putting the both of them together.
Maybe. Perhaps. Oh my goodness. Yeah, my high school was pretty poor, and there was, like, 5 tests to choose from, essentially. And I was not.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you could have, like, outsourced and taken tests just without actually having taken the classes, but...
Right. We had a couple of those, too. Yeah. People at our school did for, like, geography and stuff, because we didn't have that class.
Yeah. It's crazy how much that stuff doesn't even really matter.
Seriously. I mean, sometimes, you know, like, in trivia with Leo, like, there was a question, something like, like, in 15 something, like, which country, like, had an important naval something with Britain? I was like, it was probably Spain. And I think I was right. That's all it's done for me, was like, I think it might be Spain.
I don't know what the fuck it is, Elizabeth. I cannot keep that shit in my brain. I can't even retain it. I care so little about history. And I
That's
thought
so weird.
I had outgrown it because I took I think it was like one requirement in college that you had to take history class, and I took like a Latin American one because that's so much better. And I still did not pay attention to save my life. And I was like, why is none of this interesting? You have a good enough teacher, you know, riveting, a little bit more riveting than a high school teacher, and still I have zero care. I have zero care for science. I don't care at all.
Ugh,
and these are
so
such
wrong.
important things. And when you think about facts, that's the facts that make people think that you're smart, right? You just like say, well, that was at 1868. And
Yep. Yeah, totally.
That's a fucking microcosm. You know, whatever the fuck.
Yes.
I don't know. So, like, I cannot, for the life of me, like, I suck at trivia because I don't have those facts in my head because I care so little.
Well, a lot of trivia these days, I mean, there's a lot of sports, which I'm really bad at.
Yeah.
I'm usually the ones that I'm actually, like, clutch for the team, which is weird, are things like pop culture.
Yeah, I'm a good pop culture
and
one,
celebrities. Too. Yeah.
Like useless knowledge.
Exactly. Like the ones where it's like, we've got all the real important knowledge that people care about, and you're just filling in the answers. I'm like, oh yeah, that is an unflattering angle of Miley Cyrus, but I think it's still Miley Cyrus.
Yeah. Yeah. My family, for a while, for like probably a year or two, that's a while to me, we were going to trivia every week at this like bar in...
That is a while.
Yeah. And it was like a 2-hour thing, and they had different categories, and it was pretty all-inclusive of age. I mean, 10-year-olds weren't going to get these, but like,
yeah.
You know? And it was like every time that there was any question about like a book, they all, like the entire table looks at me, and I'm like, I haven't read every book known to man just because I have an English degree. Jesus. And then they're like, what are you good for? Like, you don't know any of these other facts. And I'm like, I can give one hell of a presentation. You know, like, I have like zero skills. I have this degree amounts to nothing.
I completely get you. Yeah.
I can lead a discussion. Fuck off. I don't know who wrote this book. You want me to take minutes of this? I got you.
Yeah, I could do that.
It's the boomers that remember all the facts though, because they don't have they didn't have Google. They had to retain information. They had to actually know stuff, and we know like 6 things, and then we have Google.
Yep. And like they had to know how to use libraries for real.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Dewey Decimal and boomers are like this.
Yeah. Well, something I did take notes on is the challenge episode 2.
Yes. I did as well. What do you think of the episode? Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Sweet dreams are made of D.
This one was... It was captivating in a different way than the first episode. And I think, like, I liked the challenge. I liked that there were 2 rounds to the challenge. So that, like, switched things up for me. And also you saw the attitude of the players being like, I want to do that challenge because it looks fun.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah,
you know?
It was easier to follow, for sure. Mm-hmm. And there was definitely a lot of politics involved in this episode and strategy.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even get any messy partying, I don't think.
No.
You know?
I mean, people had drinks, but yeah, it was mostly like the B-roll was them like working out and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the first part, the preamble, if you will. It's like right after the elimination, the past episode with Asaf and Jay.
Yeah.
They're like standing around the kitchen talking about the twist that TJ revealed. Which, first of all, I love their like midnight munchie vibe. They're all just pigging out on like chips
totally.
and bullshit.
Yeah.
Which you can
I
relate.
thought at first it was like dried mango. I was like, oh my God, these athletes. But it was chips. I was like, okay, thank God.
Yeah, when I saw Jenny eating chips, I was like, thank you, girl.
Yeah.
And then, so some of the notable comments, like CT was saying that no one would throw him in because people generally don't like to throw CT in. He's very intimidating. His reputation has waned a little bit because a couple seasons ago he got thrown in and he lost. But that's an involved conversation. Anyways, Jordan was saying that he almost doesn't want to try and control his fate. He's like, whenever I go in, whoever, it's almost like whatever.
That's right.
What
But
do you
he
think?
did, yeah, he was saying, I feel like the main thing he said was that, like, he was thinking all about Tori.
Yeah.
Who
They want to get
is
her
his
in, like,
fiance,
ASAP.
right. And I guess on last season was the season that he proposed to her. They showed, like, a little clip of that. Okay. So it's a fresh engagement then, considering that these seasons are, like, what, every 2 months?
Yeah, it's pretty fresh. I honestly don't know the date, but I would say...
Well, that'd be crazy if you did.
I know. I'm like, it was this day.
Yeah.
Generally, there's, I think, about 6 months in between when they ship out. And then, of course, it's like when... He did it, like, mid-season last season. So, yeah,
gotcha.
They're pretty newly engaged. And they do, like, everything together. They live together. They're like two peas in a pod.
To me, it's like a bit of a surprising personality thing for me. I don't know. Like, when Jordan first got introduced, like, my impression of him, I think because his hair is weird and stuff.
Yeah, his hair is weird.
Was... yeah. I was like, oh, like, it's surprising that someone like this, like, has... Like, he's come off a win, right? Like, he... To me, he seems like a bit scrawny, and he almost seems like a pacifist just in appearance or something.
The monkly appearance.
Yeah, the monkly appearance. And so that he's engaged, which is weird because I wasn't actually sure he was straight. You know, you can be engaged to anyone, but engaged to Tori, who is like, strikes me as a very... I don't know, probably the sort of girl that I wouldn't get along with too much. She's like so out of my world, super sporty and like really opinionated and like all of that. Yeah, it has just never been the squad I rolled with.
Yeah. Tori is pretty new. I mean, she's done like almost every season since she's come on, but she's only a few years old in terms of the challenge. But her street cred has gone up a lot because she's with Jordan. Jordan is one of the best players to play the game because since he didn't win his first 2 challenges, but he got pretty damn far. And then ever since then, he's won everything he's ever done. He just wins.
Yeah.
And it's because he can play the strategy and the politics, but he also... doesn't care. When he goes in, he wins. He's not afraid of elimination. So, and when he does finals, because he doesn't really have a weakness. He's good at physical stuff. He's good at strategy stuff. He's good at puzzles. He doesn't really have a weakness. And there hasn't been too many people that have matched his level and all across the board.
Right.
I do think there are some contenders this year, though, because neither Tori nor Jordan have won a challenge yet. And, I mean, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I think that's definitely notable. I'm wondering where Jordan stacks up in this bunch. But then we move on, and we see Rogan flirting with Jen.
I hated this. And
and Tori and D looking on.
Yeah, it was confusing because I like couldn't remember who Jen was.
No one could.
Dee and Tori were like totally unfamiliar to me when they were hugging. I was like, who are these people? But
now you know who they are. I bet, after
yeah, now I do.
the
Yeah,
episode.
for sure. The optics of it, that like I think like Jen and Dee being like the only Asian women on this show. And the fact that, like, Rogan was going from Dee to Jen, I was kind of like...
Does he have a type?
Yeah. I hate that, kind of.
Yeah, they should band together, right?
Well, not that they should necessarily band together, but just that, like, I feel like as a viewer, it's pretty hard not to, like, it just, like, cheapens the whole thing even more when you might think, like, is he just, like, some, like, dude who likes to objectify women of a certain background, you know? And, like, considering that this episode doesn't go well for either Dee or Jen, and Rogan comes out, like, basically in the same position as he ever was, I think it's, like, even worse, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a tough, I mean, and also, like, the flirting that was going on, like, you could tell, I don't know. And this ties in with something that happened later in the episode where Jen got, like, pretty, not, like, fucked with, but, like, was made to look like a total idiot, basically, by a bunch of dudes. And that Rogan was also kind of in the scene where he's flirting with Jen. He's, like, acting like he's giving her tips or something. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Because from what we've gathered, I think it's safe to say in the past 2 episodes, just what we've seen, Jen made more effort getting along with the guys. Mm-hmm. And that could have been for any number of reasons. In general, girls are a little bit more intimidating when they're in groups. Mm-hmm. I mean, and if you're a pretty girl, guy groups aren't as intimidating, right? Mm-hmm. So she could have been scared of opening up. Some people don't open up right away, you know? Mm. Because I don't think in the whole episode, I don't think she actually gets with Rogan. She's not actually, you know, whoring around. Not that there would be anything wrong with that, but I think she's just being friendly and just enjoying the flirting. But totally. The girls don't like that.
Right. And that she says in her interview, I think at the start, like, she'd be an idiot to kind of do anything with Rogan. Yeah. Right? Like, she's a rookie. Like, D1 last season, she says. Like, yeah. Yeah.
So I think honestly, the only thing that you could quote unquote say she did wrong, only in terms of strategy, is that she didn't put more effort in bonding with the girls. Because when it comes to the challenge, girls have to try harder in every way because they're looked at as disposable. And they're not always given the opportunity to win as much as guys. So, and then also, of course, there's the typical misogyny. So you have to kind of band together as females. And if girls start to not like you, there's enough guys that will have their back. You have to keep the girls happy because of voting and stuff like that. So there's enough guys that will say, hey, I'm cool with you, but I am going to vote against you because my girlfriend doesn't like you. Right. So it's always in the best interest to buddy up with the girls. And it seems like, for example, Bailey has done that a little bit. Like, a lot of the girls have good things to say about Bailey, even though she's intimidating. That's also a part of her game, but so I think that's where Jen went wrong, because nobody except for the guys are really have anything good to say about her, and the guys
nobody had her back.
Nobody had her back. Guys are nice to you, but they're not gonna fight for you. And so that's where we start there. The next thing that happens is the challenge. We already have the challenge. Right. It's called Airdrop Extraction.
Yeah. They had this so they did like a transition showing that like the night was ending and it was like, you know, the next day or whatever.
Oh yeah, I love those.
And they had some guy, some sound clip. You couldn't tell who was saying it, but it just said, "The sunlight." It's like, what the heck? But yeah, it looked like they had to have started this like early in the morning, because it seems like round 1 of the challenge took probably forever.
Yeah, for sure. And then sometimes they go to locations that are like a couple hours away, so they have to get on this big bus. Yeah. And then they have to, like, try out all the equipment, and then who knows how long it takes them to get them all, like, suited up and...
Totally.
Yeah, I'm sure those aren't actually fun days. Well, you know, without the actual... Not when you're not actually doing it, but... Okay, so they get put into teams of 3.
Right.
And then they have to transfer military crates, basically from point A to point B, which I don't know if they told us what that distance is.
They said it was a mile. From
Really?
point A to point B.
I missed that.
Yeah.
But there's an uphill at one point, too.
Yeah.
Did they say how much they weighed? I didn't read
No,
that.
but I was trying to think about that because I've been working part-time at a job where I have to carry things that are often like 40 pounds. And it seemed like it could have been, I mean, the boxes were big, right? Like they were maybe like 4 feet long, right?
Yeah.
The crates that they were carrying. And they were probably, I'd guess, like 50 pounds.
Yeah. That's what I wrote here, was probably about 50, because most of the girls could lift it by themselves. But they did say that it was like digging into their shoulder. And some of them were transferring it to the guys like halfway through.
Yep.
And Jen couldn't even carry her own. So
yeah.
I would say 50 pounds is a pretty good estimate. And they had to transfer 15 total.
Yeah, and so the teams were a group of 3. So if they were doing it like straight, everybody does an equal share. There's no strategy at all. Then it would have been 5 of those. And that's like 5 miles there, 5 miles back without the weight to get the next one. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. And
that would have been like 10 miles.
Yeah. I mean, they're running alone. And then there's no equalizer, right? All the guys and girls carry the same crates.
Right.
So that was impressive to me. I was like, and you guys go.
Right. And some of them, right. So Josh, Bailey, and Jen were on a team. I think
I took a picture of the teams.
Oh, you did. You did.
Yeah. So
I wasn't sure. Were they the only team? So they said they were selected randomly. Were they the only team that had 2 women?
No.
On it?
No, there were several.
Okay.
So I thought we could because there was just a lot going on, I thought we could go through the teams and then just make any comments that we had on the first round on them, since we couldn't go chronologically because they kept cutting back and forth. Yeah. So team 1, we had Swaggy C, D, and Corey. And they hustled in round 1 for sure. They didn't win, but they seemed to work well together.
But they were the 3rd. So they went on to round 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah, not much to say about them. Although Swaggy did say that he wanted to win so that he could ensure Bailey's safety. So I'm wondering about their strategy. He doesn't want her to go in at the moment, which seemed weird.
Yeah.
Unless he meant her safety in the end by going to the final, but...
Yeah, I wasn't really sure about that either. Like, he just wants to be on every tribunal where the girls are up or something. Like, yeah. But, so they did have a strategy, right? They did, like, a relay sort of thing.
Yeah, at one point they did a relay.
Yeah. That seemed to work well, I guess. It definitely seems like one of those games where, like, it's probably pretty obvious who's doing well and who's not.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, I think it's definitely a situation where if you can tell that you're nowhere near the top 3, like, I could imagine those teams basically giving up.
Yeah. And I think that did happen with a couple teams.
Yeah.
So the second team was Jordan, Jenny, and Wes, which was kind of looked up as a team to be in the beginning. Wes is pretty good generally. Jordan's good. And then Jenny's looked at as the top girl. And they end up getting first place. They
did, like, by a long shot.
Yes, they did.
Like, other people still had 5 crates to go, and they were, like, sitting back and, like, watching.
Yeah. And I think the biggest factor was Jenny was probably hustling as hard as the guys.
Yeah,
She said at one point that she feels the fatigue and the needing to stop and take a breath, but she's able to push through it because of all this training that she's done.
Yeah. And that totally looked it because, like, they had yeah, she was still like running. Like it wasn't that sort of thing where she's like trying all these different positions out of desperation. Like she
Yeah.
really knew what to do.
She
It was
just looks
crazy.
like this crazy military person that's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, she
Like,
just
this
kept her speed up.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then Jordan at one point, he starts setting the pace with Fessy, claiming that he kind of wants to see what he's got. Because Fessy is looked at as kind of the rookie to watch, for sure. Team 3, we have Bear. What are your general thoughts on Bear?
I feel like, so Bear's weird for sure. And basically the only moments he's had so far, he's been like saying kind of strange, objectifying things about Kayla.
He likes Kayla.
So
I like
they're
his
setting
imitation
up
of her run.
Yeah, they're setting
like
up something. And it's really bizarre. I can't imagine what's gonna go down.
Yeah. So his teammates are Jenna and Ashley, which
There's
I think
Jenna.
Yeah, Jenna's part of the Holy Trinity. She's
I
the
do
Holy
not
Spirit.
Okay. Yeah, she wasn't. If there were 3 Jenny, Jenna, like all important in this episode, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah. Ashley, I think, realizes that she's not going to win at one point.
Yeah.
And isn't really trying, and it's frustrating Bear a bit.
Yeah.
I love her because, I mean, Bear tries to, like, hurry her at one point, and she's like, I will sit down right here. Take your hands off me.
Yeah.
Ashley has always kind of frustrated me because she chooses when she wants to try her best. And I generally, with challenges and challengers, I like the people who give their all no matter what. Because that's the kind of heroic spirit that you like to see. Ashley chooses when she wants to do that. And you could call her smart because she does it in moments when she's able to win. And she has won 2 or 3 challenges. So she's won the most amount of money that one person's gotten. She's gotten like 750. She's won the million basically. So she got like 750 after taxes or whatever the fuck. But so yeah, Jenna's not really doing much. She's engaged. She lays low on the party side. And she's middle of the pack in terms of ranking for the girls. So we probably won't see her for a while. Next team is Josh, Jen, and Bailey. I was impressed by Josh. He was doing 2 at a time.
Yeah, that was crazy. That footage was frustrating. It was like, yeah, he was carrying 2 at a time because Jen was struggling so much. And like, it sucked too because they introduced the challenge and people are, you know, they cut away to interviews talking about what winning means to each person. And Jen is like, I do really want to win this because I want to start a swimsuit line.
Yeah.
And it's just, it sucks.
And she's like, so yeah, it's really important to win. And I'm like, is it that important to win?
Yeah. I'm like, is this the only way you can start a swimsuit line? I'm like, what?
I know. She doesn't seem to have much depth. But it's clear that people are watching the field at this point, right? They're trying to see not who the strongest are, but who the weakest are. I want to go against you because you don't have any heart, or because you don't have any upper body strength, or you don't have endurance. You know, they're definitely sizing people up as they go. And Jen is, if she wasn't going in before, she's going in now. Yeah,
it was so obvious, like, the way that, you know, even the position, she was like trailing behind Josh, like not holding on to anything, right? Yeah. They had clips of both Tori calling her like, oh, she's an obvious target, like the best candidate to go up against in elimination. And then like Anissa saying like, you know, she's like barely trying and yet she has this like full face of makeup. So we had like, just these like talking shit. And I was like, geez.
She said, look in her best, trying the least. Okay, and then our next one is Rogan, Maddie, and Big T. Any thoughts on this team?
It seemed like from the footage, right, Rogan thought that he was gonna be in the top 3 teams. Like, I guess they got kind of close.
Yeah, they definitely... I think they definitely had a shot, but Big T isn't one of the stronger of the females. She did say at one point sometimes heart wins it, which is true.
Right.
But she wasn't going any faster than a lot of the people. Because the thing is that a lot of these people have heart and they're also really strong and have endurance like for miles. So in this particular case, they did not, win. But I'm kind of disappointed that Maddie hasn't had a chance to shine yet. I had high hopes for Maddie because she really dominated. This is her second season, and she really dominated in her first season. So I think that the level of challenger is really high this season, it seems, because she has not had a chance to shine yet.
Yeah, she's only had like a couple interview things this episode. That was like the first time I saw her. Yeah.
So hopefully she kind of comes up. Team 6 is Casey, who you probably still don't know who the hell that is.
Yep.
She has not had like any... We don't even see her interviews, I feel like. She must not be saying interesting things. Casey, Jay, and CT. Which... I didn't keep track of them, like, at all. I don't think they were
I don't think they had any footage.
Yeah. CT is really strong, but he has put on some pounds, so his endurance isn't what it used to be. And I just didn't see how Jay and Casey were doing. I'm sure they did well enough, but not enough to warrant camera time. Bananas was with Anissa and Nani. We didn't get a lot of footage of that either, but I did notice he was telling them good job. Bananas knows how to work with women. He's done many of these. He's learned a long time ago not to yell at the females because it makes them stop rather than go. So totally. I remember at one point Anissa's like going really slow, gives it to him. He's like, good job. And he leaves. I'm like, was it a good job, Bananas? Was it? But yeah, so the next team is Nelson, Kayla, and Tori.
I don't know who Nelson is either.
Nelson's African American. He's Corey's best friend. He's got that. He's got a nice smile. He was talking to Big T in the very beginning of the episode.
Okay.
He hasn't done much notable either. I don't think they got a lot of camera time either. Just Kayla, she ran by Bear, I guess.
Yeah, that was weird.
Fessy, Kyle, and Melissa are the last team. And they get second place, right?
That's right.
I think they're before Dee's team, yeah. So Fessy, he's the one to watch. I'm curious. I'm very curious as to where he stacks up mentally. In terms of like puzzles and things like that. Will he be able to really square off with Jordan and all across the board? I'm very curious of that because he seems really strong. He's got endurance for days.
Yeah, I mean, so they had, like you mentioned, that moment where like Jordan was sizing him up or whatever. But honestly, when they announced that team or whatever, I was like, I thought Fessy was a girl for one. And so I think that just made me like face blind because I wasn't looking for the right sort of body type when they were talking about Fessy.
He does not have a female's body.
Yeah, so I'll need to look out for him because, he did not make an impression on me.
I believe he got second place. The last challenge.
In the first one.
Yeah, in the first challenge. And then he was the one that called the shots for that team in the second round. So, Jordan, West, Jenny got first place. Fessy, Melissa, and Kyle got second place. And then Swaggy C, Corey, and D are the last to get into the second round. And they have to, they get in a helicopter and they have to basically drop crates onto a target from, I don't know how many feet above.
Yeah.
And there's a spotter which looks for the target and times when they are to throw it and make the target. Because the other two people can't see the bullseye.
Right.
And Jordan's team goes first, and they do terribly.
Yeah.
They get 2 out of 9 crates.
Right.
Which isn't even near where the other teams get.
And I'm not sure, like, since it seemed like they went first, like, if it was easier to tell if you're watching it from the ground, like, what the timing was and, like, what sort of delay you need to do, the angle that it's gonna go down at, and things like that. But yeah, they did like pretty bad, and I thought since they were such a good team going in, I was like, oh, maybe this is a case where like the challenge is actually like harder than they thought it would be for the competitors.
Yeah.
But when teams 2 and 3 went, I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, maybe 2's gonna be the best, and like the other teams don't get any at all. But you're right that seeing it from the ground might have helped, because you might have even been able to commit some of the patterns of the helicopter to memory, because Jordan was saying he pulled back or he slowed down or he did this. He was blaming it all on the helicopter. But it was curious that the team that got first place had to go first in the second round, because it could be seen as an advantage to go last. Yeah. So it was kind of weird that happened, but Jordan was very upset with himself. Yeah. Wes thought it was hilarious.
It was kind of, yeah.
Jordan's a very sore loser. And then Melissa, Kyle, and Fessy. Fessy's the spotter, and they get 7 out of 9 crates, which is pretty darn good. They probably
so
think
they
they're
missed
winning.
the first 2 and then just got all the rest.
Yeah, they corrected themselves,
which was cool.
So again, I'm watching Fessy, and he can think on his feet, and he's not stupid. Like the timing thing, it's not something that, like, it requires a little bit of brain. So, and they had the math and stuff on the first challenge, so maybe he is going to be a contender mentally just as well as physically.
And I think, like, when that team went, it was, well, first, like, they totally missed the timing on the first crate drop off, and that was like a miscommunication thing. And I could totally imagine if I was in that situation, that just throwing the whole thing off, because you're just like immediately pissed off at the spotter versus the people dropping the crates. But like, it seemed like they had the focus to get it together so that wasn't an issue. And like, honestly, this kind of performance, like, they didn't win, right? Like, the third team did, but like, there was nothing basically wrong with what they did. I think
they did great. They took a couple to correct themselves, and they soared from there. Like, because even in the first team, Jordan's team, they like got one, and then they missed like a couple more before they got their second one. Like, it wasn't like they corrected themselves, and it just took them longer.
Yeah, it seemed like both, so Fessy, who was the second team spotter, and then who was the last, was it Corey, who was the third team spotter? Yeah. Like, they both just took on the strategy of, like, you're taking a certain path over the platform, and when you see the same landmark, you drop it every time, and it'll work, right? And so it seemed like, did Jordan like not get a handle of that, or like
I think Jordan was trying to like be like, okay, the momentum of the helicopter is like this, so it will get there at this time. He was like doing some math rather than just timing it with a spot, as if he was spinning in circles and fixing his stare, So the third team, Corey, Swaggy, C, and D, they win. They make all 9. Yeah, they do. And I was very surprised at Corey. Like, Corey is not known for that brain, and he did very well. Some of that can be instinctual. You might just have like an instinct for timing, but I think Corey is shining this season so far. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I liked Swaggy's comment where he was so happy that they won. He was like, pink dust everywhere, we hit the target. Like, he kept saying that over and over because their crates exploded into pink.
It's got to feel good as a rookie to win. It just, he must be. And then he knows that he can keep his girl safe, whatever that means to him. So he's feeling good, man. And then to get all 9, and then you're riding in this helicopter in the air, like, that's got to be quite the feeling, man.
Yeah, that must have been so much more fun, especially after doing that first shitty challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So when they get back to TJ, Say it with me, Liz. TJ.
TJ. Like Tijuana. Okay.
Yeah, like that. Jordan's a sore loser. Doesn't even clap. Nothing. Doesn't emote.
Yeah.
For a while.
He was so stupid. Yeah.
And at one point, I love Bananas. He went over and he was like, so what was the strategy of dropping one of those boxes in Germany?
Yeah. That was really funny.
So just taunting Jordan. And I like that about Jordan and Bananas is they can like fuck with each other and they don't really take it personally. So that made me laugh for like hours. But yeah, Jordan just has this, he does not do good when people lose. And it's worse when other people make him lose. Like, you'll probably see him yell at people in the future because they're the reason that he lost. He can't handle losing. He cannot. So, take that for what it is. You'll probably
I definitely
be annoyed by Jordan for sure.
Yeah, I was not feeling him. Like, pretty.
Yeah. He's also kind of like a clean freak. So in the house, he annoys a lot of people. Because if you leave your dishes or whatever, he'll bitch about it to you. So he's just not everybody's cup of tea. And I understand that I would probably hate him. But I do like to watch him in the challenges. Because he's got the kind of like, I'm up for anything spirit. I'll go against anybody's spirit. And I like that about him. But now he can't help Tori. I think that's why he's so pissed.
But she, like, wasn't even mad. Like, she laughed at, like, Banana's joke, I think.
Yeah. Tori always has to play the pacifying Jordan card. She has to keep him calm because he's so crazy. Like, last season, he almost got his ass beat by this, like, crazy Turkish guy who takes pride very seriously. And Jordan was, like, fucking with him hard. And he almost got his ass beat. So,
jeez.
Yeah. But, so D, Corey, and Swaggy C, they're the tribunal. And so this is an example. They didn't have to choose the third person. So it can just be, the tribunal could be completely made up of people who just win, which I love that aspect for sure.
Yeah, this was an interesting tribunal too. Like, I think their dynamic was cool. Even though Corey was in the last one, like, seeing the way that this played out and, like, you know, it was pretty clear, right, that, like, Jen was gonna go in, so a lot of the politicking is about, like, who to go up against Jen and, like, knowing for a fact, like, what the situation is. Like, there's not a lot of uncertainty about, like, you know, if someone goes in there against Jen, they'll probably beat her, right?
Yeah.
And so it made the terms of negotiation for the other people, like, quite clear, which I thought, so it made it pretty interesting, I thought.
Yeah. There was a lot of, my pages of notes, the bulk of it is here because there's just so much strategy going on. They instantly, right after the challenge, start talking about who's going in. It's pretty much a given that it's Jen. So the strategy that they're kind of using is aligning with strong people. So, you know, because D is saying she wants Jenny to go in. So people are trying to align with strong people who can pay them back later by winning a challenge. Because only strong people are going to win the challenges. So that might mean we have, like, a stacked final. Like, just really awesome people in the final, which is always good. You don't want layups in the final. That's annoying. It's annoying to watch, guys. So, but in reality, they shouldn't be giving people who are stronger than them a chance. That's thinking ahead, and they're not really thinking ahead. But, you know, you could argue that you would cross that bridge when you get to it. So, the next thing that happens is Jen is with Johnny and Wes. And essentially asked them for advice, which she's done a couple times. She asked Rogan advice earlier. What would you do if you were me? She's really trying to get advice from men, which is rule number 1 in the house is not to trust the men in the house. So, Wes and Johnny start helping her come up with her speech because they know she will be nominated. And she actually goes and gets a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This really sucked. I mean, yeah, it was a bummer that Jen, like, so, right, yeah, you're right. She was talking to Wes and Johnny at first, but, like, all these other dudes are present, and they start, like, filtering in and contributing to her speech writing process. And I feel like at that point, she had to have known, like, oh, they're fucking with me, right? Like, you know, I can't remember who it was.
I know it was Nelson was there at one point. Bear was there.
Yeah.
I think Fessy was there, or Rogan. Yeah. But she really is, it seems like she's really thinking that the guys are on her side. And if the only people in that room helping you are guys, that should be an indicator to you that something's not right.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but that's kind of the environment of the challenge. So, Wes starts telling her, you know, you're a stock. Tell them that they need to invest in you. Basically, the gist of her only card she can play is that she's weak. If you take me to the end, I'll be a layup. Right?
Yeah.
That's really the only card she has to play. She doesn't have another card. So Wes is telling her technically the right thing to say, but he's doing it in an annoying way and making just this long speech that he knows isn't going to help in any way. So,
yeah,
it's true that if they hadn't done this, the elimination would have been gone or the nominations would have been done in 5 seconds, and they would have all just said Jen, and nothing would have happened. So they wanted some entertainment. So her speech, she starts with greetings, Earthlings.
Yeah, when she said that, God, it sucked because I could totally imagine me saying that. Like, I felt that so hard.
I felt it for you. I was like, this is something Liz would do.
Yeah.
But it would be cute if you did it.
I mean, I didn't think it wasn't cute when she did it. It just wasn't the right crowd.
So she doesn't pull out her paper, right? But she does use some of Wes's vocabulary. She mentions stocks, but she doesn't understand the speech entirely, so she's just kind of throwing
and she
stuff
totally
out there.
Puts herself in the worst. Like, she articulates the position that everybody else has, and then doesn't say a better alternative. She's just like, and I know a lot of you guys think I'm weak, and you should go up against me now because you really need those red skulls. And they're like, yeah. And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then CT, they flash to an interview of his, and he's just like, she would have been better off just playing naive and humble. Because, you know, what happens in the end is Rogan, Bananas, and CT don't vote for her. They're just kind of throwing her a bone. Yeah. And more than likely, if she had just kind of played humble and naive, a few more people would have thrown her a bone. Just so that the numbers aren't as ugly as they turned out to be.
Right.
But she didn't do that. And Wes votes for her. He's the first one to
that was so
throw it
bitchy.
out, and her mouth drops to the fucking ground.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I was like, she had no clue.
She didn't.
At any point in this episode. She was just thinking that these people were helping her, and she had no clue. And he just broke her little heart. Yeah,
that was so rude. I don't like Wes that much.
Yeah, I know. He's a lot, okay? I would have to write a dissertation in order to defend Wes, and it's just not, we're too far into the episode right now.
That's right.
But we said this a little bit earlier. Jen really made a mistake when she didn't befriend the girls. And she also, even though she didn't sleep with Rogan, she didn't not talk to him, and she allowed the flirting. And I am not in any way condoning what happens later with Dee and the vibe of the house, kind of the girls turning against her. Because the reason they turn against her is, one, she didn't seem very warm towards them. She wasn't trying to get to know them. These are all implications I'm getting just from knowing a lot of the stuff about the seasons, even though none of it's explicitly stated. And then also the stuff with Rogan. And I thought about Nani, who has done a lot of these seasons, and she went through a similar situation where she actually did sleep with this guy who had come on, like, freshly broken up. Like, I think a few days or weeks. He had just broken up with a girl he's also a challenger. And he got with Nani. And she, the next season, spent the entire season ostracized by the females. Because they were, like, slut-shaming her for it. And I'm not condoning this in any way. But, later on, like, years later, actually last season, lovely Rogan, slid into Nani's DMs before the season. And once Nani noticed that he was interested in Dee, she ceased all communication with Rogan. Because she did not want to make a similar mistake. She was like, that's her territory, I'm not slipping in it. And I'm not condoning that you need to act this way as a female. You do whatever the fuck you want to do, right? But in terms of getting people's votes and keeping loyalties and allies in the crazy environment that this is, you kind of have to just be careful with those decisions in terms of how the females will view you. And Jen made that mistake. She should have sort of ceased communication with Rogan. And girls in packs are never going to like a girl who is always talking to all the guys, like, and not talking to them. They don't like that. So that's a lot of the reason that Jen had no chance from the beginning.
Yeah. And I think, like, so right after the house vote is done, there's, like, a scene of them at, like, breakfast or something.
Yeah, they're, like, at the kitchen table. I have no clue what time it is.
Yeah. I mean, somebody said, like, I'm just eating my Cheerios and all this shit is going down. So I assumed it was breakfast, but I don't know. Yeah. And that's when, like, Jen and Dee start, like, having it out, and Rogan is, like, a table away. And it was, I mean, you got the sense that, like, Dee isn't a very good arguer. Like, she doesn't come off very strong in this argument with Jen. Like, neither of them do, really. And also, like, it's kind of an embarrassing argument to have in the first place, because it is kind of like they're arguing over Rogan. That's the way that, like, a lot of the other people in the interviews talk about it anyway. Which is just like, Rogan is I don't know, like, it also just ultimately all of this totally works to undermine Dee by the end of this episode. And, like,
she doesn't come off looking good.
No. Yeah. And it's not great for Jen either, because, like, she's already been voted in. I can see the logic where she's just like, I'm just gonna double down and, like, blah blah blah, like, maybe, you know, maybe I will fuck more with Rogan because all you bitches hate me anyway. It's like, but that's not helping you at all here.
Although I did low-key hope that she did that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there are no good options for her at this point, because, like,
just fuck Rogan right under Dee's bed, like, whatever. Piss her off. Yeah. But Jen says, it seems like what starts the argument, which of course editing could have skewed this, but she says, you know, you orchestrated me going in, which wasn't fair. You're right, Dee didn't make a good argument as to why that wasn't true. I mean, she says at one point, I don't need to, everyone threw you in anyway. Yeah. Which is true. I mean, Dee didn't campaign at all. She would just confirmed as Jen going in, okay? And everyone had already made up their mind. But Jen seems to still kind of naively think this couldn't just be because they decided to throw me in. There's something fishy afoot. And then, they fight. Jen says at one point, you watched me in my sleep. I didn't.
That was really funny.
And then Dee's like, I have a koala mask. And Bailey's at one point like, there's eyes and koala mask. I don't know what's happening. Rogan's not that great. Yeah. I was like, I feel you. And then Dee says she can be the meanest of all mean girls if you come after me. And that's, I think that line is quintessentially why I was not pro Dee this episode. Like, why do you have to be mean girl? She's going in. I don't like people being territorial of other people in general. And then this person like, fucking stomped on your heart last season. You should be not giving a fuck what he does. I don't know why you're still talking to him, let alone showing him emotion.
Yeah.
At all.
It's, you know, like, I think that actually I was kind of on Dee's side maybe up until the actual elimination challenge, because at this point in the episode, so like, yeah, she doesn't like come off really great. She seems flustered in this interaction with Jen at breakfast. But I kind of feel like it's because she's aware of the fact that it's coming off like she's still into Rogan, and that's kind of like throwing her off a bit or something like that. Because like right after this, right, Dee is on tribunal and there's like clips of different people kind of like soliciting her, or like in some cases threatening her and things like that. And she actually comes off as like pretty composed and chill and level-headed, I think, when it comes to all that business. So it was kind of disappointing, the way it ended up, because I had hopes for Dee. Yeah,
and I haven't given up on Dee. I like Dee generally. I think that she is just someone who, she's gonna calm down over time. In a few seasons, she'll figure out who she is and she won't waver. But I think she kind of gets caught up. This is her third season. She did really well. She won last season. She's got a lot of friends. She's just kind of feeling a little entitled and kind of like a big fish. And that'll level out, I think, in the future. These moments are a flickering where you're not sure if you like her. I think that'll eventually go away. I like Dee. I like her warrior spirit. I like that she does stand her ground in this episode, but yeah, I did not like the mean girl aspects to her.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of strategy and politics, and I'm curious as to whether you were following all of it, because they pull in a lot of past experiences. Dee mentions that Jenny is her number one. So Jenny, Dee, and Tori seem to all want to go to the final together. They were all in last season together. And Jenny tells Dee, I want to go in. Dee mentions that Jenny is her number one. They shook hands, whatever. That's on her agenda. She told Swaggy C. She told Corey. Corey owes Jenny anyway. But then Tori seems to be under the impression that she's number one.
Right.
And then that makes Jordan mad and all of that. Do you understand all of that? Like, all of the reasonings for everything?
So, yeah, they did put some effort into, like, basically, so they show Tori, like, talking to Dee. They're doing some stretches on the mat or something like that. And Dee, like, I think does the correct and nice thing, saying like, hey, I hear you, but like I need to put Jenny in. And then Tori seems like she's kind of she's a little mad, but she goes to tell Jordan, and Jordan's the one who like puts this attitude in her, being like, actually that's not acceptable because of we helped her win in Thailand, and that's like $250,000 that she got because of us, which it sounds like, so like 4 people won last year or something.
So
they split the prize.
CT, Jordan, Rogan, and D won. Tori was on that team, but there was an elimination factor in the middle that Tori got knocked out of. So she didn't finish the race with them. So the thing is that they kept mentioning this, but they're very vague about what was said, what was promised. Is it, did you guys say, we're going to be our number ones forever, I got you next season? Like, what was said? And if nothing was said, and it's just that we ran the final, we won you $250,000, does that, Jordan, does that mean that you're putting Rogan in next time and you're putting CT in next time? Like, I feel like that's not how you're thinking on the other foot. I think that you just are assuming that this person owes you, when in reality, she pulled her weight and she can turn around and say, I won you $250,000. Fuck you. Right.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's like, maybe because she was the only woman who won last season or something like that. Like, is there an attitude of like, we carried you?
Yeah.
Which,
Absolutely. Always with females, they do that. But, I mean, Jordan and Tori didn't even start off on that team. CT made a move at the very end that allowed Tori to get to the final. So she wasn't even promised on that team. So this entitlement is just so weird. Jordan and Tori should almost feel blessed to have been on that winning team. I'm not saying that they didn't earn it, and I'm not saying that Jordan wasn't a major factor in them winning. But this like, now you owe me simply because thing is just weird to me. It seemed very odd. And
yeah,
I
and
didn't
personally, yeah, I don't like when like two people in a couple decide to be mean together. I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh my
I
God,
agree.
you guys think you're like a power couple. You're like making big boss moves or something. I'm like, y'all just look like you're mad for what? Like, you're so bothered. I just hate that.
And I'm so confused. Why create all this friction in the first fucking girls' elimination? She can go next week. She can just be like, okay, D, but I'm number 2. She's fucking number 2. D has been in the top 2 in the last 2 challenges. And Jenny can get D next time, and then Jenny will probably win again. Like, Tori will probably get in there in the next few. And so but if they cause this riff, D might not call her ever. Like, I'm just so confused as to why it's so pertinent that they go right fucking now. So they kind of play good cop, bad cop. Tori goes back. It's almost like she looks to Jordan for what to say. What's our argument again? What's the verbiage again? And Tori, because she's better, like, Jordan doesn't even talk to Dee the entire episode. Like, he all he does is put the words in Tori's head. And they go, like, in this locker because Tori has a very good, like, friendly, I'm nice game. That eventually people are going to see through, and they're already starting to. And Dee's just as friendly back, and they go in the little locker confessional, and basically Tori just says, you know, Jordan, he's going to be a little angry if you don't pick me, so I just wanted, it's not a threat, I just want to let you know that, basically. And Dee's like, yeah, well, I'm still going to put Jenny in, and that's kind of how it went, and then they left laughing, So
yeah, it was super weird. And also, like, the fact that that Tori seemed to have done this like about 10 minutes before the actual like tribunal met together. And so it's like super fresh on Dee's mind, and she like spills it to the other two. I feel like that can like not help, doesn't really help Tori looking good.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, Jordan and Tori haven't won anything this season. Yeah. So how and Dee must be feeling high. Top 2 again, the last 2 challenges. Is she even scared of them right now? It doesn't seem like it. That being said, we don't know how many people are on Jordan and Tori's side. We have not, they haven't revealed a lot of the overlaying alliances.
Right.
Jordan and Johnny usually align, at least for a little bit in these games, which means he's also with Wes, who is with Dee. We just don't know how many people. Nani is also cool with Tori, which means that she would be cool with Kayla and Jenna. So there's just all these overlying things that we don't know yet. How many people could potentially fuck Dee? We don't know. So they go to the interrogations, and they vote in Big T, Jenny, and Tori.
Right.
Big T's the first one to go. They ask her, you know, what would you say if you went in? And she's up for it. She's ready. And she's very nice about it, and she seems honored to have been chosen.
Yeah.
And in reality, she was nominated as kind of as a fallback.
Right.
If the purgatory ground looks scary as fuck, Jenny and Tori are like, no, then Big T goes in. So, Jenny goes in next. And basically, Swaggy wants to know, what do I get if I vote you in? Which, in reality, Jenny doesn't need to say anything. Corey's going to vote her in, and Dee's going to vote her in. Swaggy can vote
and
for
that's
whoever.
2 votes, yeah.
At one point, Swaggy refers to himself in the third person. Wanted to mention that. So basically, Swaggy wants to know what you can offer him. I'm like, okay. He's one of those.
Yeah, so weird.
And I love Jenny. She's very friendly, and she's like, I would love to help anybody that I could, so if you help me and I get my red school, I would love to help you. So she's just really sweet. And Jenny was sweet last season too. And she's doing really well this season, because last season the politics and strategy of the game kind of took her through a loop. And she kind of got the rug swept from under her. And this season she seems politically as ready as she is physically, which is great.
Yeah.
So Tori goes in to this interrogation and kind of has a little bit of a messy interview. Basically says, she goes in, of course, friendly. None of her teeth are showing, right? And says, the slate has been wiped clean. And this is for the benefit of Corey and Swaggy C, because she also needs their vote. So she's saying, the slate has been wiped clean. And Dee's rebuttal is, then why the fuck have you been saying that I should vote you rather than Jenny? And then she's like, because Jordan won you $250,000, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, but I thought the slate was clean. So all this bullshit, and Dee basically ends with, we never shook hands that you were number one. Jenny's the only person I shook hands with. And so that kind of takes Tori by surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she seems like super mad at Dee, and like walking out of there, like both Corey and Swaggy C both kind of like turn to Dee, and they're like, well, you know what's up now, like, right?
Yeah. They all know Jordan's gonna go after her, and Dee seems unperturbed by this.
Right.
And they basically say, we're throwing Jenny in. And I am happy that Dee is standing her ground and isn't outright lying to anybody.
Yeah.
She's very clear about what she's going to do. But the next combo that she has is with Wes. And Wes and her are aligned because Wes and her were teammates on the first War of the Worlds a couple seasons ago. And she learned a lot from Wes, strategy-wise. And he also is the one that taught her how to swim and all that lovely stuff. Okay. Wes was a swimming state champion in high school and college, I believe. Yeah, so he wins all the swimming competitions. And he had a partner who couldn't swim at all, so he was like, fuck my life. But he taught her how to swim, and she won the challenge that day, remember?
Damn.
Yeah, I told you that earlier. So what I like about, and why I want to talk about this convo that Wes has with Dee, is that he kind of makes her slow down and think about her options. Because she doesn't seem to understand that she will have Jordan and Tori on her back, and that's not a good thing.
Right.
He seems a little bit more fearful of that than Dee is. She has her little mean girl attitude. I don't give a fuck. I do what I want. Fuck you. And he's like, you will have them go after you if you make this decision. And he's not telling her what to do, which is smart of Wes. Wes, usually the way he talks to people is he gets them to do what he wants, but he seems to respect that Dee has a brain, and so he's not doing that with Dee. And I can tell the difference when he's talking to people, whether he respects them, and he seems to respect Dee a lot. So he just wants her to know that they're going to be after her, and Jordan has a lot of shots to win a challenge, so yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely got the vibe, that he was like cautioning her about this, but he also kind of makes the argument that like Jenny is a super like amazing athlete, and that like she has a chance of beating basically any dude too, like she's hella strong. So like you could, I mean, we don't really get the inside scoop of what Wes is thinking here. Like, if he's in fact possibly thinking, like, I don't want to go up against Jenny, so, like, don't maybe put Big T into this. Like, maybe Big T is your best shot because you'll get more stalling time from this impending drama.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely letting her know that Big T's there as a fallout girl, right? But
Right.
it to me it seemed like he was letting Dee know, like, this girl is gonna beat you in a final. Do you want to give her the easiest ride?
A free ride, yeah.
It almost seems like, and Jenny's attitude, she's really friendly, she's understanding, she's confident, she's been winning. There's definitely an opportunity to say, hey, I think it would, just girl to girl, I think it'd be best for your reputation if maybe you went in a little later against someone a little stronger, just to prove yourself. You lost to Tori last year. Let's go ahead and get, like, your reputation up, right? And you could put her in a riskier situation that maybe she goes home and there's a spot in the final for someone else to win. Because if Jenny goes to the final, she's winning for the girls. And that's not a for sure. I mean, there's always a wild card. But I feel like Wes is kind of telling her that without telling her that. So now we're at elimination. And TJ drops another bomb. Basically, whoever is of the gender that's going in that night, they have the power to go in themselves. So, although actually it's not clear if the other two have to vote that way. That wasn't very clear. And that could become important if, like, that person who can go in is the odd man out. And the other two are like, well, I vote for Jenny.
Yeah.
So that could come into play. But she turns it down. What are your thoughts?
I was so bummed that she turned it down. She definitely could have beaten Jen. Like, so this challenge, so they walk out into the arena. It's like on sand. There's these like hanging barrels on poles. 2 like parallel lines of them.
Yeah.
And I thought that maybe it was going to be like hitting them against each other or something. They don't know, but it ends up being that you have to swing the barrels over the post. It's kind of like if you had some people who are dicks at the jungle gym who used to swing the swings like over the top pole so no one could swing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So evil.
But whatever it is, like, the barrels are thicker than Jen herself. So it's clear.
Totally. It's clearly a physical challenge, right?
Yeah. Like, she's losing.
And also that, like, even if it would have taken Dee, like, some time and she struggled a bit, like, that would have been okay. Because, like, she definitely has a lot more stamina than Jen. So, and it also just, like, again, I feel like what Dee said in her own defense was that, like, oh, even though the whole crowd was like, go for it, and even in the interview afterwards, Jenny was like, I would not have been mad if Dee had picked herself in that situation because what a chance that was, And
I think Dee knows that. I'm very sure Dee knows that.
Right? And Dee was like, well, I'm a woman of my word, so I'm going to vote Jenny. And it's like, dude, like, it would have been so much more kick-ass. I get that you would have been super embarrassed to lose against Jen, but Jen couldn't even flip one of those, right?
Yeah.
Like, that just was brutal, you know? Like, Dee should have had more confidence in herself. And even if the risk of embarrassment was huge, like, just, like, looking at that situation, it looked bad for, like, her foresight, I guess.
Yeah. I agree completely because this is the kind of thing that why I look at challengers like Jordan, for example, who are overly arrogant. At least he believes in himself and thinks that he can beat everybody at whatever. That's a lot cooler than, I don't know, I don't want to lose to this. That's a lot cooler than this whole I want to go against the weakest person so that I can win. Like, challenge yourself. This is
totally.
This is called a challenge.
Also, I think that if she had picked herself, it could have diffused some of the Tori and Jordan shit, because how could they blame her for, not going after that? Well, they can definitely blame her now.
Yeah, exactly. So there are several reasons why this is a dumb mistake, right? One, she looks weak in general. She looks like she's scared of Jen. She's not, right?
Yeah.
But it looks that way. Yeah. Two, she passes up the opportunity to diffuse a situation, like you said. She could have gone in, gotten her red skull, and not had to choose between those two.
Right.
And she passed up the opportunity to not give a fuck the rest of the game. I have my red skull. I don't have to help you guys do anything. Of course, you could go in again, but with so many people chomping at the bit, it's possible you won't. Yeah. She passes up all these opportunities, and now that she's chosen Jenny. What if she doesn't win again? What if Jordan and Tori win a lot, and Dee could possibly have shut herself out of the only chance that she had, not only by passing up this opportunity, but also by choosing Jenny. So she fucked herself in multiple ways.
Yeah.
At the easiest shot that she could have had. She could have gone there even with her jeans and just pushed them up there. Jen couldn't even hold a crate earlier today, and Dee was holding them by herself and got third place.
And like how you mentioned, like, did the other members of the tribunal need to vote with Dee, or at least one? Like, did she need that 2/3 majority? We don't even know, but this was a scenario where there wouldn't have been any doubt. There was no conflicts for Swaggy C or Corey to have a Dee versus Jen matchup.
Yeah. Absolutely. She could have gone in there, shut this bitch up who she had an issue with. And then she could have played this card of, I didn't know what my decision was going to be. I was thinking about you, and she could play both sides for a while.
Right.
And she could even throw challenges on girl days just so that she didn't ever have that power again to choose between them. And so she just makes the dumbest mistake, and all because I could lose against anybody but not her. All because of that.
That was I mean, you could tell she regretted it right away. And when she was even asked by TJ, do you regret not taking me up on this? And she was like, well, I'm starting to, but I feel like she was already
because right after he blew the horn, she mutters man, I could have done this. It's obviously.
Yeah.
You could have done anything. You can do anything you set your mind to. Hello.
Yeah.
So anyways, the game is officially called Flip the Switch. And Jenny kills it. She uses one hand at one point. Yeah. It looks like she does it in less than 10 seconds.
Right.
Doesn't even take any rest between there. I think Jen maybe gets 2 over by the time Jen gets all 10 or something.
Yeah.
And she won. She didn't even break a sweat.
She got her red super fast.
Yeah, it was not interesting to watch. This is why I'm saying, they need to challenge themselves. I almost wish there were incentives to do so, because it's more fun to watch when you have a close game. This isn't fun. Right. This wasn't a fun elimination.
Yeah, and it's also a bummer because you do want to see some kind of challenge for Jenny as well. It means so much to her, and she's trained so well. You want to see her kick ass, and to see her kick a puppy when it's down, basically, also wasn't satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. I almost wish there was a winner's bracket, or okay, if they had incentives to go against harder people, every person, depending on their stats, are given you're worth 5 points, you're worth 10 points.
Oh, right.
And you could get advantages in the final. You could get time shaved off or something if you choose someone that's a higher level.
Totally.
And so to put that chance in where you could get someone 10 points versus 10 points, like going at it like Spartans, and that would be so much funner.
Yeah. You're right, babe. You're totally right.
Like, the MTV producers never listen to me, and it's at this point
know.
it's getting
Tweet
frustrating.
Them, girl. Yeah,
I
slide into
can't
those
even
DMs.
get Jenna Marbles to tweet me back. Okay.
Yeah.
So Jordan says at the end, Dee can't be trusted, and she's the only one on their list, which is, their shit list.
Yeah.
Do you think that they really are going to actively go after Dee?
I don't know. It's interesting. Like, it seems like what's the point, especially if going after somebody, like, there's not necessarily a benefit to yourself in this case. Like, what does going after Dee look like? It means like putting her in a challenge against a really strong person, maybe, but she's fairly strong herself, right? And everybody actually wants to be in the challenge. So even though Dee fucked it up this time, like, objectively for all, like, she should be in a challenge because that's the strategy for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't exactly know, like, what them fucking her over would look like. And I think Wes says something kind of similar. Like, he's like, it's kind of confusing what the strategy is right now.
Yeah. And it could look just like when they have the chance, they're not going to vote for Dee to go in.
Right.
And to sort of answer your question earlier, to go after people who have crossed you, it's sort of like slapping them on the wrist for not being loyal to you. Because over time, if you let enough people get away with shit, other people are going to fuck you over. So you have to create consequences for people who you cannot trust so that you don't do it again, basically. So Jordan wants to set the precedence. You don't fuck with us. Which is stupid, but that's what they have to do. Like, certain people who make careers out of this, like, at one point Dee says to Tori, I cannot not choose Jenny because it'll ruin my career, which, because she'll look like a traitor, right? So in order to uphold his reputation and his career, quote unquote, Jordan needs to make consequences for not keeping what they believe is a promise.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that could make sense. It could be like, right, there could be a challenge where it's another team thing, and what if Dee and one of them are on the same team? Like, how does that work? You know?
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of things that are not in your control, so that, like, saying that you want to get somebody, it's all waiting for the opportunity to see, like, is it going to happen?
Yeah. And also, we're getting a lot of this aggression from the camera, from the interviewing.
Right.
Jordan hasn't talked to Dee. He hasn't come at her with this aggression. Tori's kind of let her in on it, but in a nice way. So I think they're just biding their time for when the opportunity strikes. It could even be at the final. Sometimes they give them, like, if you came in first in the first round, you can add 10 minutes onto the person who you choose. It could even be something like that. And they're like, Dee, fuck you, bitch. Don't do that again. Whenever, and it could be 5 seasons from now. There are people that pull triggers later, and they're like, remember that time you did that in kindergarten? And so they didn't like yell and scream and make a scene because they aren't sure if they need Dee right now. Because Dee may win the next challenge for the girls 2 episodes from now, and Tori could be like, so it's my turn, right? Because they haven't like drawn the line in anything but an interview yet.
Yeah, fair.
Do you have any predictions? Next episode's gonna be a boys one.
Yeah, next episode, I don't really have any predictions, I guess. I guess I'm worried for Dee. I definitely think something's gonna happen with Bear and Kayla. Possibly. But yeah, I don't really know what's gonna happen. It did say, like, from the preview about what next episode it's going to involve a puzzle. So that seems exciting.
Said nobody ever. I am excited to see which one of the rookies have brains. I am excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see like what kind of like, is this a puzzle I could do? I like puzzles, so it'll be cool.
Yeah, and I love how you're thinking of that aspect. I never try to do the puzzles because I'm like, ugh. So I'm wondering, because it's a guy's elimination, I'm really wondering who's going to try to be that first one in. Because I think it's going to be, for example, if the people who are in the tribunal aren't friends of the big alliance guys, like Wes, Johnny, Jordan, then they might try to get the popular vote. It's all going to depend on a lot of factors, and I'm wondering who's going to go in. I really am.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me. I'm scared. I hope a big vet goes in. I'm hoping that it's a Wes or a Johnny or a Jordan. But I don't know who it's gonna be. We don't know the big alliance yet.
Right. Yeah. I'm definitely curious. I think like, I don't know. It seems like there's more girls who haven't really gotten like fleshed out more storylines, and I feel like I've got more of a hold on who the dudes are at this point, which is probably smart given that next week is like another dude challenge, and this girl challenge was so insular. Like it was really like haughty Asians, and then the Tori and Jenny shit. Like that was it. You know, like Big
so
T was
much,
it was so like central to the whole episode. So yeah, I think like the boys challenge could be more sprawling. It could have more upsets. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I can kind of ascertain like who might be aligned, but I have no idea what the rankings are. And with guys, it's like, who chooses to be who do you choose to be number one? Like their egos are going to be fighting each other for sure. And I'm also curious, you know, once Wes or Johnny get a red skull, is their alliance over? Are they done helping the other one?
Right.
It's almost like Wes and Johnny might, in order to protect their alliance and themselves, they might be holding out to the end, which wouldn't be smart. So I don't think they're going to do that. I'm very curious how that's going to play. And it's going to probably play out a lot with their female allies. They have different female allies. Like, Wes is going to have Dee's vote for sure. Jenny, they're going to vote for Wes. And like the Nani, Jenna tribe, they're going to vote for Johnny. So it'll probably play out with the females. And then I'm wondering, will people get shut out? How many chances are there?
Right.
You know, like for example, this episode, Big T thought she was going to go in, which to me is like, have you talked to nobody?
Yeah, that was really weird.
How do you not know?
Especially from her interview too, because it seemed like she was very reasonable. Like, oh, you know, she wasn't taking it too like heavy. And then she's like, why didn't they pick me?
Yeah. Like, yeah. So she's not clued in at all.
Yeah.
And so is this an example of someone who, because she doesn't have a lot of friends and because she's really naive and not politically playing the game, is she going to get pushed to the end and there's going to be no more opportunities to go in?
Right.
I'm wondering how many people are going to get shut out.
Yeah, interesting.
Or if there's like a final battle at the end, there's 8 people that need a red skull and they all are going to like battle at something.
Yeah.
Which would be cool. So, yeah. Big,
wait and see.
Big political episode. It was exhausting, honestly. I was mentally drained.
Yeah, it was tough. Did you watch the like elimination interview?
I'll be honest. And I watched the episode twice because the first one was for pleasure and the second one was for note taking. And I couldn't get through either time, even though I tried both times. I maybe listened to 10 seconds and I was like, I can't, Jen. I cannot. I care so little.
It was a bummer. I watched it.
I knew you would. Because you're just a good person.
I felt that. She was like laughing, you know, you could tell she was like trying to have a good attitude about it. But then she said a couple of things that were kind of like, oh, what are you saying here exactly? Like she said, like, I knew I wasn't going to win against Jenny. And like, it started off as kind of like a compliment. Like, obviously Jenny is so strong, but then it turns into like a backhanded compliment because she's like, and Jenny's like twice my size. I mean, like, I'm only 105 pounds.
Oh my God.
And I was like, girl, like, first of all, Jenny is not 210 pounds, like, for sure. And like, dude, it's all muscle. Like, what are you getting at? Like, I'm sorry, girl, if you think that like your physique is the ideal and you want to do like a swimsuit line because you've gotten good feedback on your physique or whatever. Like,
I don't like her physique. She's too skinny.
She was very small, and like she said like towards the end of her elimination interview, she's like, the girls were basically ignoring me, like saying that, you know, like, who knows how true it is, like,
right,
whether like she had no chance at the social game or what, but saying like, I'll have to play a better social game next time because I will be back. And like, and then she made sure to emphasize again the fact that she's small, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
like, we get
it. As if someone who's 105 or whatever can't also be strong. Like, there's a lot of girls up there that are also really tiny who have trained and have some muscle and can
totally,
or at
like
least
the girls on the cheer show I was watching.
She even said like they weren't that heavy. She just couldn't figure out the momentum. Like, that's her fault. That's not at all like I couldn't lift it. There was no way.
Yeah. And then the last thing that she said that was kind of annoying was that she's like, I do have a message for D. And like, who knows how much of this was like producer driven.
Like, do you have a message for D? No.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't have a message?
Yeah. She's like, how about we write you another script? A little speech. But she said, like, D, this isn't a dating game. Don't target people because of emotional baggage.
Dang.
And I was like,
yeah.
No,
yeah.
girl.
When she tried to give it back, like, be kind of mean, it didn't really work for her. And it just was really off. And I would say that more than likely by the end of her time there, she probably was getting ignored.
Yeah.
But like, they're like snipers, like with their laser vision, and they give you one shot to sort of give that impression of what kind of person you are.
Right.
And she gave a vibe that first day that they did not like, and they shut it down after that. And it's unfortunate, but the game starts at the airport. Sometimes it starts even when people are contacting each other.
Right. Like over Instagram beforehand.
Like,
yeah. And I think she could have, you know, you could tell she's got, like, for someone like me, when she said the like greetings earthlings, I was like, she's got a weirdness to her. I think she could have leaned into that, but like, you know, and I feel this about a lot of people in life in general, is that they don't really embrace their weirdness, their awkwardness, and they put on a facade of like, well, I'm the hot one, I've gotten validation for certain things, and I'm going to lean into that, even though there are other facets that people could and will like and will help people to see me as a unique person, but I'm afraid of it. And like, I kind of wonder if something like that, like if she had come off as like maybe a little bit of an embarrassing loser during the party or something, someone still might have been like, hey, I'm into you because you're genuine and like you have no clue and like I like it. But the only people who are into that are the dudes at this point. And I think that's because like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what her deal is.
And guys don't they don't vote with emotion, and so they can really like this bitch and they can chill with her every night and still not vote in her favor.
Right.
Like, because they vote with their allies, and it comes from people with a lot of years of friendship. And so to think that you sort of, okay, I've got Rogan on my side and I've got Johnny and Wes because they're nice to me, and those are votes in my favor. Like, it was just a very naive thing to think.
Yeah.
And if she does come back, if MTV calls her back, she wasn't entirely interesting, but they might do it to fuck with D. Because that was such a big deal. Then she might be more mindful of that, you know?
Yeah.
She can definitely redeem herself. And she could honestly just be like an introvert that just happens to be really hot. And introverts honestly don't do the best.
Yeah.
I'm not acting as if I have a personality profile of everybody exactly, but the more outgoing and social and friendly you are, and sometimes introverts come off as non-friendly, the better you'll do. So if she comes back and starts to genuinely connect with one person and then the other, and she could play a slowly escalating social game, I just don't see, I didn't see that fire in her. You have to also have a challenger spirit, and she didn't seem to have that.
Totally. Yeah. And I think, like, even her motivation, like, you know, honestly, there are so many other ways to, like, land where she wants to land, it seems like, and being a very good physical competitor and whatever, it honestly doesn't seem like it's necessary for what she wants to do.
Yeah.
Or, like, what she finds fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if she wants to come back, that'd be interesting, but, yeah, I think it was just, it was kind of demoralizing.
Yeah.
Watching her go through it.
I don't remember what show she was on either. Do you remember? Was she Big Brother or?
I can't remember.
I can't either.
Big Brother.
Sad.
Yeah.
But okay. That was the challenge episode 2.
That was challenge episode 2. Yeah. So because that was episode 2, we were thinking for, like, our little ending segment where we try and pick something that relates to the number of the episode that we're on. So because this episode was 2, we want to think about, like, our first 2s. Like, who was our first person we were interested in, or, like, our first experience with, like, a boy in elementary school or something like that. So that's kind of where we were going.
Yeah, because it was kind of relationship based and, like, fighting over a guy. And
right.
Have you ever fought over a guy with somebody?
Oh no, I have. Well,
really?
I didn't
was it
really
Leo? It was Leo.
I don't think this can air.
She's like, note to Liz, edit this out.
There was, like,
we can edit the name out,
please. I mean, this is, like, something I regret. This wasn't what I was planning on talking about, but, like, I did have a crush on my now boyfriend Leo before we got together. And I just, you know, maybe I'm a born challenger. I don't know, who can say it. But like, I was strategizing, right? Like, I knew other girls were interested in him. I didn't want to look like a loser by, like, putting it out there, honestly. And I think that did come from a place of, like, not having confidence. But the unfortunate byproduct of that was that I knew that other people were into him, and I didn't tell them that I was also into him.
Yeah.
And, like, that was because I didn't feel like I owed that to people. And I generally, like, if somebody tries to become my friend by, like, spilling all their deep, dark secrets to me, I don't actually find that to be, like, something that makes me reciprocate or makes me feel necessarily close to a person. I think there's so much more that goes into it. And some people do try and force friendships by, like, pushing that angle. So, you know, I ended up going to, like, a senior dance with Leo. I asked him myself. Things were kind of building between us for, like, some months after junior year.
Crescendoing, if you will.
Yeah, thank you. And there was, I did feel kind of like I should have been, like, upfront with some of those ladies, even though I still don't think I owed them that.
Yeah.
and they never asked. And actually, most of the time, they because they knew I knew Leo, they were asking me to do things for them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I don't really know you.
Yeah.
I guess that would be my unfortunate love triangle experience.
With all these other ladies.
Yeah.
What if that strategy, like if you were on the challenge and I was like, Liz is the strongest, baddest bitch out here. How do I be her friend? What connects you to people? How do you relate to people? If it's not secrets and telling you my life story, what connects you to me if I'm Jen coming in?
For me, it can sometimes be like I want to talk about like big picture things. I want to talk about like philosophy and morals, not like textbook shit, but just like, you know, why do we do the things we do? What are issues that you're confused on that like you actually like? There are some things that morally like I'm not actually sure where I fall on. And I like to have conversations with other people who are open-minded about things like that and be like, yeah, I'm confused about this. I haven't made up my mind about this or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's people who are open about like thinking about things, even like making realizations about themselves, I think is cool. And that's, I think, the sort of conversation. And it can definitely lead to like, that relates to how I grew up and my parents were always like, or whatever, you know, people's shit can come up. But ultimately, it's a conversation about like big ideas that aren't like trying to convince anybody of anything.
That's interesting because I'm thinking about our friendship, and I don't feel like I feel like our experiences and our life story and our secrets, if you will, are kind of sprinkled in as we developed our friendship. Whereas like with other friends, like I have sat with them for like 4 or 5 hours, you know, going deep into bullshit.
Right.
And that connects me to them. But with you, it's like this sprinkling over time mixed in with all that other stuff.
Yeah.
That connects me to you. So it's interesting how when you find people that you're meant to connect with, you adapt to their way of communicating.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting. You know, it's not that I don't like the kind of like 4-hour let's gab. I guess, no pun intended. But like,
let's gab.
Sometimes that's more fun under the influence too, like our bar talks, because I think, right, the ideas get bigger. And I like that. It's like, yeah, let's talk about the shit that pissed you off this week or how this guy is a total dick or whatever. But let's talk big too. And like, yeah, I think that's fun.
I remember at one point I feel like it was freshman or sophomore year, I had this debate with people where I was like, yeah, if I were president, I can't believe I just admitted that this was in college. I should have said when I was like 12. I was like, I would have everyone be drunk all the time. Because, except for, like, the people who are, like, angry drunks, for example. Like, because we're the best when we're drunk. You know, our inhibitions are down. We're friendlier. We say real shit. And, like, when our bar talks, not that we ever have guards up or anything, but it's just an easier, you know, I feel like I've told you some things like, you know, the other day that bothered me when you did this, or I really love when you do this. Like, it's just this, like, we barely take a breath. We're just talking and talking and talking and talking, getting these things out. And it's just a lowering of inhibition that is really freeing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, like, I think it might also be, like, I don't know why, but, like, sometimes having a drink or two can make you feel, like, I'm kind of resetting my perspectives and like the scale of things that I was holding on to. Like, why am I holding on to it when I know the other person's gonna be fine with it? Let me just say, like, hey, why don't we talk more, bitch, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and we'll be like, yeah, why don't we? Like, let's actually do this and, make plans to like make your life better instead of just feeling ashamed and frightened of your own friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, there are a lot of people who, for example, have, like, anxiety or social anxiety or these things that they need or that they take medication for sometimes. And there's also a lot of people that go undiagnosed with this stuff.
Totally.
And I feel like this extremely social norm that we have of, like, let's go for a drink and talk. It's like self-medicating. It's just like,
yeah,
I am making myself just a tiny bit more comfortable in this environment. I had to put on pants today that didn't have an elastic waistband. I put on shoes. I did my hair. I'm out in this bar. I think this table's sticky. I haven't talked to you in like 6 months. Like, let me lower this inhibition a tiny bit with this self-medication that is not a pill, because I haven't actually gone to a doctor to get diagnosed with social anxiety, and I may be at this point of the spectrum rather than all the way over here. So we all just kind of self-medicating a little bit, and people who sort of look down on drunk bar talks, I think, are underestimating its power.
I love that.
Just like Obi-Wan underestimated Anakin's power.
Completely. Wait, so what's your twosome story then?
What was this why is it a 2?
I thought it was 2 because it would be like, well, what was I originally going to say?
I think a relationship or something.
Oh, I was going to talk about like my first date in elementary school, but who gives a shit? It was
How
stupid.
did you have a date in elementary school?
It wasn't a date, but it was like, it was a boy that I liked, and I knew that he liked me, and he asked me to hang out at his house.
What?
Right?
Girl.
We were in like 3rd, 4th grade, something like that. So it's basically a date, right? That's a date.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I went over to his mom was there, and we like, I don't know, we played Legos and stuff. Like,
in 3rd grade, girl.
I don't know what
I was playing Buffy the Vampire Slayer in 3rd grade.
Well, yeah, I think actually we built stuff. I know he came over to my house, and because my dad's like a carpenter, I don't know if this was cleared with his parents, but we like were using the like screw gun, to drill shit and like hot gluing things to like make creations. That was like what we were into.
I would totally be that parent that like forgot to check with the other parent. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude.
Here's a hammer.
Yeah. That makes me think of, I was going to tell a different story, but in 4th grade, I was in love with this guy. Okay, I'm not going to say his name because I'm sure he's listening.
Yeah.
And he was part of a trio with me and this other girl who was my best friend. Who's also listening. Not going to say her name. Yeah. So she liked him too. I liked him and she liked him.
Yep.
Okay? Spoiler alert, he did not like me. He liked her, okay?
Oh, no.
I know. She was a blonde bitch. He was a blonde dick. Yeah. And I was just little me playing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I always had to play Willow, and they played Buffy and Angel. Like, fuck off. Anyways, damn. Okay?
That's tough.
I know. But I was like, I don't know what came into me, but one day I told my mom, I want to go to Skateland, and I want you to invite him, and I'm not inviting her. So I didn't invite her.
Taking a stand.
We went on a little date to Skateland, and I told him, I invited her. She couldn't come. I did that.
Oof.
I did that.
Wow.
And I was sick of being the Willow in the relationship. Yeah. I really was. And she was kind of toxic to me sometimes. I remember one time she told me, she's like, Gabby, I wish I could be fat so I could have big boobs. And I was like,
God.
Fuck off. So she
Yeah.
was kind of toxic. But
Yeah.
anyways, we went skate landing. It was great. We had a great time. I don't know why I was 8. I guess I didn't follow this plan through. Because obviously he was going to tell her, yeah, we went to skate land and blah, 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 blah. Right. So on Monday, she came up to me with her little attitude. He said, you invited me, but you didn't. And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't remember what my answer was. I really, what could I have said?
Yeah, what can you say?
Yeah, I probably was like, sorry. Like, whatever, he likes you anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the day, I guess.
Wow.
A little skate
That's hella
day.
funny because, like, the moral of my story is actually kind of similar, the ending of it. So, like, we had these couple of dates or whatever, and then what he did was he went and he told everybody in class that, like, we were having this thing. And I had not consented to that. I did not want this to be a public-ass shit, you know? Like, so that kind of actually killed it for me.
Ooh.
Keanu.
Yeah.
I'll fucking name him.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Like, yeah. So I think the message, the moral might just be, can men be trusted? Probably not.
But we were the sneaky people in the stories. Oh, I guess in your first story.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So can women be trusted? I don't know.
Who are we?
What is the female condition?
Yeah.
I
Curious.
guess all is fair in love and war and challenges. Maybe. That's what Johnny Bananas loves to say.
And with that, let's think on that until next week's episode. What do you say?
Permeate in our brains. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about episode 3 next round.
And we didn't even fucking properly introduce this episode, by the way.
Can we cut it that way?
Maybe. Should we record that later?
Welcome to the For Jagel podcast, episode 2. Hey, by the way, I don't.
Yes.
Based on our list, I really don't think we gave any credence to the possibility of hot butts for Jagel.
We did not discuss hot butts for Jagel.
Which, could anything be truer?
For Jagel is so round and perfect. Yeah, welcome to episode 2 of For Jagel. We're both here and we're both still for Jagel, and we will be here for Jagel next week.
With our hot butts.
Exactly. I'm Liz. That's Gabby.
I'm Gabby. That's Liz.
Yeah. And we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Good night.
Goodbye.